I am live with the second episode of Kerb's Anime Battles. I know recently I've been doing a lot of podcast debates and discussions, including other people, and I've kind of been neglecting like the solo battles that I promised that I'd do on this channel. So today I'm actually going to go ahead and take a little break from the podcast. Of course they're going to be back. I'm going to be doing a lot more podcasts than solo battles because I know that I want to show off a lot of other people's knowledge and show that how much this community that I've kind of built has grown. So definitely going to take a small break from that with this video. I wanted to do something a little different because I've been doing a lot of podcasts as recently as the past couple weeks. This being said, I'm here to do a battle that I've actually been wanting to do for a good while, and I know this might come as a surprise to a few different people, and I know a lot of fans of this anime that I'm about to do. I've recently been doing a lot of research on a bunch of characters that people really tend to sleep on. And it's really cool because I feel like not only can I expose them to like people who never even thought to scale them, I can also just go ahead and show you where he stands up opposed to other verses. So the battle that I'm going to do today is really going to get some exposure out for this one character that I really think that you guys shouldn't sleep on. And so with all this in mind, without further ado, I'd like to introduce the official battle that I'm actually going to be doing today. I know for a fact that if you saw the thumbnail, you might be confused, and even if I tell you what it is, you still might be confused. So let me just clarify for you, as the thumbnail says, and as this title will be, this video is about Slender Man versus the Bleach universe. I know. I thought so too. Everything going through your head. That's weird. Slender Man? For real? A creepypasta internet meme? How on earth is he able to compete with one of the most powerful anime series known to man? And I say that because obviously there's a lot more powerful ones, but this Bleach universe is very powerful, should not be slept on by scalers and non-scalers alike. This being said, Slender Man also should not be slept on, and I'm about to explain why. A slight rundown of the basics for the Slender Man. Slender Man was created in 2009 as an entry in a create-your-own surreal image contest by a man named Eric Knudsen, who went by the online screen name of Victor Surge. Inspired by the works of H.P. Lovecraft and Stephen King, Slender Man didn't necessarily have a set story, rather his physical appearance was based solely on the ideas of the two, predominantly inspired by Stephen King's movie adaptation of his world-renowned novel, The Mist. The crazy part about all of this is, despite how massive the Slender Man has become as an internet icon, to this day, he truly has no definitive story. Regardless of the fact that Knudsen never actually created a story for the Slender Man, that never stopped the internet from creating a slew of their own, with a widely, I guess, agreed upon story that the Slender Man is just an entity of the forest who solely hunts after children. However, this isn't entirely true. Slender Man has also been known to hunt down adults or people that he just wants to, for reasons that we cannot understand, and I'm about to kind of explain how we can't understand that. This all being said, the Slender Man is a true entity of fear. Some people speculate that they can actually make him real using a psychological trick that I can explain in just a second. In the early to late 70s, a Canadian team of paranormal enthusiasts created an entity named Philip. They gave him a complete backstory and made him a person who can think for himself. Speculated that with enough brain power, these people could create entities that are mere fiction into non-fiction. This being said, this could actually be, I guess, applied to the Slender Man, as a bunch of people have widely accepted him to be an entity of non-fiction, speculating that he is the true definition of fear itself. Another statement to support that the fact that Slender Man is more than just a myth and in fact a real-life definition is that one of his exclusive definitions is that he is the sole purpose of the feeling of being watched. That being said, it's true that he's not only just a manifestation in fiction as a definition or personification, he is in fact a real-life feeling. I mean, all this being aside, I could go on about the origin of Slender Man for an eternity. I personally really love this person as not only a creepypasta, but I loved seeing the characters that people have given him. I love to see how the internet itself has made this story, this concept that this one man made for a contest, into an ever-growing, ever-loved, actual widely renowned character, the Slender Man. With still to this day no definitive story, But then again, I think we all have our own Slender Man story that we can kind of speculate as it's up in the air. This all being said, I believe it's time to get into some actual, stats and fights that we can actually use to prove why I believe that the Slender Man could actually just demolish the Bleach universe. Now obviously, as from what we've shown in some of his most popular iterations, such as Slender the Arrival and Slender the 8 Pages, the Slender Man hasn't exactly proved himself to the public to be as powerful as I'm going to tell you he is. However, there are in fact a bunch of iterations of him, namely 2, so I guess not really a bunch, but that's more than I need to prove that the Slender Man is actually a lot more powerful than you could actually think. How so? Well, let me get into that right now. I don't know how much more I need to beat around the bush here, so I guess I'll just jump right into some of the crazy stuff that he's able to do. First and foremost, Slender Man was able to create something called dimensional bleeding. Now this dimensional bleeding thing is something that I think is actually really scary, but also really cool. The dimensional bleeding causes other universes to bleed into each other by ripping holes through the current universe, I guess, and he causes them to either collapse in on themselves, merge timelines to destroy them spatially or chronologically, or just open portals so he can travel through them as he pleases. This being said, that's actually a really crazy ability because he can do this in many different ways. By this, I mean he's actually able to do it just by using his tendrils on his back, or he's just able to do it by, thinking or existing. There's a lot of stuff that he can do with this, namely the ability to travel through timelines, alternate universes, or just completely destroy the multiverse by making it collapse in on itself by using this dimensional bleeding. And in fact, that's actually the plot of the Angels game, is where he's using the dimensional bleeding to just fuck around with basically everything. So that being said, the Slender Man is proven to be a multiversal threat, can one-shot it pretty freaking easily by just making it collapse within itself, by not only just existing, or by using his tendrils, or by thinking or moving. He can just cause dimensional bleeding. Now the dimensional bleeding itself can actually also do a lot of other stuff. However, I'm just going to say, for the sake of this battle, it's not just creating illusions, and it's not just used for teleportation, as he's also able to do that himself. He's omnipresent, he has infinite and immeasurable speed, and can probably even move in negative speed, being as with his dimensional bleeding, he can move in negative time and time travel, go to alternate universes, make them crash in on you, and etc. So obviously with powers like this, you're not really going to want to mess around with the Slender Man. He's also, just like I said, an entity of fear. He can manifest fear into really anyone at the multiversal level. Anyone past that, such as maybe beings like Galactus or I don't know, Darkseid or Thanos. People like that, maybe even, I don't know, fucking He-Man for all I know, are probably going to be immune to that because they are on a level and operate at a power higher than a multiversal threat. However, the Bleach universe does not. So the Slender Man himself, using this dimensional bleeding, can do a lot of stuff that will just completely wipe the floor with the Bleach universe. But if you want good old-fashioned one-on-ones, I got you. He can simply just erase anybody in a one-on-one by causing a universe to crash into them, or even just going back in time to the timeline which they were just being born, and then just destroy them that way. Plus, you can't really touch him. He's not really got a physical, appearance, you could say. I mean, he doesn't really exist like that. His powers and his physical presence are really just there as I guess you could say just the personification of your own fear, rather than just an actual character or an entity. Now, I know that there's a bunch of stories and games that put him out to be that way, but at his highest, this is actually the opposite of what he is. At his highest, he's very much just a physical manifestation of fear and the fear omnipotent power. He's just very, very powerful. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Well, there's a Bleach character that's dealing with fear all the time. That's his go-to. You might be thinking about As-Not. As-Not is actually very interesting, but I actually can thoroughly believe that if Slender Man was to meet As-Not, he would actually be able to scare this man shitless. Another way that I can believe that I can actually just liken the Slender Man to something being as he's there but also not there, and he can choose to be there if he wants or choose to not be there, or even both if he wants, liken it to the Warframe Limbo. Limbo is a very interesting character as he can just travel between a rift of existing and non-existing and stay there. So you can see him and you can, like, I guess, sort of interact with him. You can't really touch him. You can, I guess, talk to him. He's there, but he is also not there. He's in a rift between existing and non-existing. While he's in there, he has complete manipulation of it, has complete manipulation of what can be in the rift and what cannot be in the rift, and as a matter of fact also has complete manipulation of whatever is inside the rift with him. He can just completely destroy whatever is in the rift with him. But also think of Slender Man as a lot more powerful than Limbo, being as if Limbo decided to put him in the rift, assuming he could, because again, Slender Man doesn't really have a very physical manifestation. It's more like a mind manifestation, kind of. It's also a spatial and time manifestation, a definition. If Slender Man was in the rift, he could easily just obviously escape by just bleeding out of the rift, or just, I guess, destroying the rift by causing it to crash with an anti-rift. Really, there's not much that a Limbo could do against the likes of Slender Man. And again, there's not really much that a Bleach character could do against the likes of Slender Man. Now, I know that there's a bunch of people, in fact, one of the people that I'm going to shout out at the end of this video, who can actually testify that some Bleach characters may in fact be universal, being as the Soul King was able to hold 3 universes together. I don't know, take it how you want it. Some people also believe that this is just Earth or the worlds holding the 3 realms together. Now, realms don't always automatically mean universal. I mean, obviously, like in the Marvel iterations of realms like Asgard and Midgard and such, they liken them to being universal in dimensions. However, sometimes this is greatly, and I mean very much greatly, exaggerated, as you can clearly see that Asgard isn't exactly a universe. It's really just a large fucking island. So, is this the same case with Bleach? Not entirely, because, I mean, at the very least, the physical realm would be Earth, and splitting the Earth into 3 different realms, which is like the Soul Realm, and the Normal Realm, and the other one. So this being said, like, the realms holding them all together, that's no joke. Now, Yawak was able to absorb this Soul King. However, the Soul King was very much weakened, and I mean very, very much weakened. He wasn't exactly nearly in his heyday. So Yawak absorbing that, also Yawak being able to absorb powers is very interesting. However, I don't actually believe you can just straight up absorb an emotion. I mean, like, this is an emotion that spans throughout an entire multiverse. You can't really absorb that. Nothing has been able to absorb that, and I know Slender Man isn't exactly, like, have a soul. He doesn't have a soul, per se, but he can, in fact, interact with souls. I mean, he can do this shit all the time. He can interact with, like, a soul universe, causing it to bleed into other ones. So, if you can say that Yawak would absorb Slender Man's powers, I would actually really disagree, because he would probably try to absorb it, but what if he's not actually even there? What if he's just psyching him out, using it as immeasurable speed to just, you know, cause a mass hysteria illusion and really just tricking Yawak? Now, I know Yawak isn't easily tricked. He's very much one of the smartest people in all of Bleach, so he wouldn't exactly just be like, oh, haha, I will just absorb you. No, rather, he just couldn't do it if he wanted to, being as Slender Man is also not stupid at all. Slender Man is also very much one of the smartest entities to ever be conceived, because he exists basically within everybody and within the multiverse. Nothing in Bleach has really touched a multiversal level, unless you want to say, well, you could reach Universal Plus if you're holding 3 universes together, but then again, that is up for Limbo. Haha, Limbo the Warframe. That's really just up in Limbo. We actually have no idea if these are universes. I'm just gonna go ahead and say, for the sake of this video and trying to make it as fair as possible, sure, these are universes themselves. However, this won't really help anybody in any way. Ichigo, as well, being the physically most destructive person in the entire Bleachverse, can't actually scratch the Slender Man. Like, I know these people can deal with, like, a soul attack, and can deal with attacks on different, like, realms and such. This really won't do you much good against Slender Man, who can just, like, immediately or negative immediately, travel to other realms. Also doesn't really have the ability to be affected by stuff like that. Really, Slender Man is just really broken. The only way you can beat him is if you're above him, if you're a being who has, like, space and time manipulation that is above the likes of even that, which there are plenty. Don't get me wrong, by no means is Slender Man actually invincible. No, if you're just able to be higher than the likes of that, like I say, like higher comic book characters, you could definitely easily take care of Slender Man. However, the Bleach verse doesn't really have much to do against that, and a lot of other anime verses can't really do that. Now, I know Sosuke Aizen is really interesting in this type of stuff, being as he's really good at illusions, and he's actually, I think, perhaps the smartest character in all of Bleach. Not even him could actually really do anything to the Slender Man, being as Slender Man doesn't seem to be affected by illusions, being as he knows your position at all times. He's in a realm, basically, if he's going to be in a fight like this, he'd be in a realm where you can't even really interact with him, but he can definitely interact with you by using his tendrils. He can just cut into you, like using the dimensional bleeding, and he can definitely just fuck up all of your illusion abilities, being as, you know, he also really doesn't actually have a brain, really doesn't have eyes to observe it. He's just aware of basically everything. So if he was, like, against the Bleach multiverse, does he exactly have the means to go ahead and destroy it? I mean, that's just not my place to say, because Slender Man doesn't exactly have understandable motivations. Slender Man's motivations can be speculated as much as they want, but all in all, you can't really speculate the motivations of a being whose existence far surpasses the mental capacity of any human. He reaches into, like, deep infinity. He is definitely in the fourth dimensional levels of power, probably even fifth dimensional, actually definitely fifth dimensional with his spatial and his time manipulation abilities, being able to just destroy time within an instant, destroy universes within an instant, and within negative instance he can just go back in time with the dimensional bleeding, just destroy everything from a time before time. Really, the Slender Man has been around and could be likened to myths long before the concept of Bleach was ever, you know, invented. I mean, even then, like, you could even say that he was around before time itself. I know a lot of stories can liken him to that. Again, there is no real actual story for the Slender Man, but this being said, I mean, I feel like it's pretty fair to assume that the Slender Man, against anybody from Bleach, I don't care if you have soul hacks, time hacks, space hacks, his hacks are on a level of multiverse. He has no real physical way of dying, so physical attacks will not affect him in the slightest. Your willpower won't do you much, being as this willpower has never exceeded, I guess, a multi-universe level. So all this being said, I don't believe that there is a single person in the Bleach universe who could actually defeat or even fight on par of the Slender Man. The Slender Man, within probably an instant or before Bleach even existed, would just destroy it by causing an anti-Bleach universe for all we know, or just causing antimatter, or just destroying the time itself. And I know that there's some time hacks in Bleach, but if you're just destroying the time and the person before the person was even existent, there's not really much you can do against the Slender Man. So all in all, I guess the answer to the question of how in the world would Slender Man solo the Bleach first, well, there's actually quite a few answers to that. In fact, a few answers that not even we as humans could comprehend. But for the sake of the battle, if you even just wanted to be one-on-one consecutively, obviously you can just cause a universe to rip into these people from the inside out or from the outside. There's so many things he could do, or even if you wanted him to fight them all at once and he was forced to do it, just go back in time before Bleach even existed. I mean, obviously he could do that. I mean, he's speculated to be around before time even existed, or even existence itself. I mean, he is in fact like a manifestation of fear. Who even knows if gods have fears, gods before humans? This being said, he could just go back and destroy Bleach before it even happens, or just destroy them all in a one-on-one, probably negative casualty. So yeah, I guess this really answers the question that if Slender Man fought the Bleach universe, there's not a single thing anyone could do. He can't be absorbed, being as he's not even going to be really there. He could just project himself as there. You're not going to be able to touch him, see him, affect him. I mean, maybe see him, If you see him, don't look or it takes you, am I right? That's one of the pages from the game. That's actually one of my favorite games of all time, by the way. If you have never played Slender the 8 Pages, you're a fucking lunatic. Go ahead and play it. It's some dumb fun. So this being said, yeah, I actually wholeheartedly believe that Slender Man could just solo the Bleach universe pretty easily. So yeah, all this being said, with his multiversal hacks and destructive capabilities, his immeasurable time, his impossible durability, and the dimensional bleeding, yeah, I don't think Bleach could actually do anything against that. And if you want to see if I actually believe he can defeat any other anime verse, go ahead, let me know. You can call me a Slender Man wanker if you want, but honestly, if you're doing that, you just might be a little salty that your favorite anime verse gets soloed by a creepypasta. But, I mean, you can't really blame me. I didn't make him. I'm just reviewing the powers he has. So, yeah. So, in conclusion, Slender Man really just solos the Bleach universe. So, that being aside, thank you actually very much for supporting this video. If you're not mad about it, and if you understand the reasonings behind this, thank you very much. Please, in fact, go ahead and share this video if you know people who sleep on the power of Slender Man. All this being said, I will actually have a lot more podcasts coming, and I can do a lot more Slender Man videos if you want for the battles. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. I don't want to drag this out longer than it needs to. I'm just going to close this video out. So yeah, Slender Man solos Bleach, and maybe even other ones that I haven't even named. So thank you very much. I will see you in the next video, which will be a podcast with my boy Average Chris. We will be covering a Power Rangers themed podcast. I know a lot of you are going to be excited about that. So yeah, thank you very much. Adios, amigos.